Greetings, my fellow Americans, Michiganders, those in Jackson, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Kalamazoo, and the surrounding areas. Thank you for tuning in to ACVN, the American Conservative Values Network, dedicated and committed to those precepts and principles that have made this nation great: the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Emancipation Proclamation. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule from time to time to tune in to this broadcast. We feel our trialogue today, as three of us, is pertinent and relevant to us all. We want to begin this subject on a national discussion of race. Trayvon Martin is supposed to have been allegedly killed. Some say accidentally, some say it was a homicide, and some are saying that Mr. Zimmerman was white. Mr. Zimmerman's not white, he's Hispanic. Number one, it is a minority-on-minority crime. Obviously, justice should be served, but you have a black president, Barack Obama, and you have an African-American and black U.S. Attorney, Eric Holder. Now, if Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton are so concerned about justice, why don't they go to their black president and march on the White House? And why don't they go to their black U.S. Attorney's office and march on the Justice Department's office, where Eric Holder is, and ask them to investigate the minority-on-minority crime?
Because there's no money there. That's why they don't do it.
I see.
Okay?
Yes. Well, then, weigh in on this, Professor. Why can't African Americans and minorities come to terms with being transparent and honest, decent and forthright, clear and concise in their issues? Well, we understand there's an injustice. We understand, or perceived injustice.
There's a perceived injustice.
And we understand that there are allegations here. But for the most part, the U.S. Attorney's Office trumps those local law enforcement people, and they could be ordered in.
There's concurrent jurisdiction, and realistically, the state and local authorities should be allowed to do their work. The federal government really should stay out of it unless there is a clear
violation of civil rights.
Violation of federal rights. The federal government should not get involved. So,
cannot the case be made for the violation of federal civil rights, allegedly, that says, look, we feel this is out of control, that people are arguing, you've got all these activists trying to exploit the situation, let's send in capable personnel to get to the bottom of the matter.
The federal government should be assisting the state and local authorities if the state and local authorities ask for it, but again, unless there is a clear violation of some federal law, the federal government should not stay out of it. The federal government should play a support role.
And so, would not it be wise, with all of the public outcry across the country, and wherever the outcry is coming from, for the president to not be worried about, i.e. politics, and him being perceived as being too African American or too minority, and say, look, void of color, we are hearing the voices of all of these people claiming the perceptions are that there was some injustice here. Let's treat this. We have many investigations going on across the country, because they do. Mm-hmm. We have the FBI involved in many things across the country. Well, ask the FBI to meet with local law enforcement to look at the case to see if they can be of some assistance to get to the bottom of the matter. Would that not be wisdom?
That would be, that would be wise, and I think that would fit with what I prescribe, that the federal government should.
And I tried to fit it right there
in a support role. But
I tried to fit it right there.
Right, but right now you have so many people that are trying to capitalize on this issue that it's very difficult for other people to maintain a level head, because the situation is becoming so polarized.
So you're saying that it's being tried in the court of public opinion, and the media is exacerbating the disposition?
Oh, the mob is definitely trying to rule here.
I think so.
And of course you have the usual suspects, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, who are trying to take advantage of it, who are trying to profit from that. And so they have to make the situation worse. They don't make money off of this. They do not. They don't get publicity off of this if it's not made worse. So therefore, you can count on them trying to make it worse. There are a lot of people who are trying to capitalize on this incident, and right now it's very difficult to know exactly what happened in the incident. We do not know that a crime was committed. Was there a homicide committed? From a strict technical definition of manner of death, yes. One human caused the death of another. But not all homicides are violations of the law. And at this point, we have to let the investigative process do its work. And there are witnesses who corroborate Zimmerman's story. So, but then there's other questions about did he call the police, and did the police tell him not to engage or to do something else?
They played that tape on Fox.
Yes, but the other thing is that if Zimmerman was in a case of danger, if the situation changed after he talked to the police, if in fact Trayvon Martin did in fact pose a danger to him, then that's changed the situation after what the police said. We don't know what happened exactly. We don't know that sitting here in Michigan. Jesse Jackson doesn't know that from sitting in whatever posh office he was. Al Sharpton certainly doesn't know anything about it sitting from New York. The witnesses are corroborating Zimmerman's story, and there aren't any witnesses who are stepping up and corroborating what is being said about Trayvon Martin. So right now, the onus of evidence so far that has been disclosed, and that's the thing that we need as of the time that we're taping. As of the time that we're taping, what has been disclosed to the public corroborates what Zimmerman said.
Now let me weigh in on what you're saying and agree that evidence certainly needs to run the gambit of the system of jurisprudence.
Right.
I'm not simply saying anything against that. I am saying, though, the president did weigh in and offered condolences to Trayvon Martin's family, and we offer those condolences on this show. We are sorry, as you indicated, there has been a homicide.
Yes.
There's
been a loss of life.
There's been a loss of life. There's been a homicide that took place. Someone was killed.
Parents have lost their son.
And parents have lost their son. A gentleman has been lost. Regardless of what people think about him, a person and citizen of the community has perished, and this is unfortunate. In the words of John Donne, no man is an island. Each of us is the piece of a continent. Every one of us is the part of a main. Therefore, when a man dies, it diminishes me because I'm involved in mankind. Hence, never sin to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So we understand all of those poetic and philosophical things. What we're talking about now is the expedition or the expediting of justice. It would seem to me that if the president is going to make a statement about the death of Trayvon Martin, that he at least would have Eric Holder meet with and say it like this: I will have the U.S. Attorney's Office get in contact with
offer
local
all possible assistance.
Contact them first.
To the state of Florida.
Contact them first and find out what assistance they can offer to help to expedite the investigation for the sake of jurisprudence. And then this, in fact, would be the way I would think that he could help quell some of it. And then law enforcement come out like they do when there's a kidnapping, when there's an Amber Alert, when there's a serial killer like the Melvo and Muhammad shooting and killing people. You held a news conference and say, here is the deal. We are actively investigating this as a homicide. We're trying to determine whether or not it was justifiable or otherwise. We understand on the left there is an outcry that there's some injustice, but we have to be allowed to do our investigation.
And the other thing,
follow what I'm saying?
And the other thing
and
that
then
they have
say
to be
we'll keep you
with.
posted.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, because what's important is that the investigation has to proceed along a certain way, so that
there's not any prejudice of justice.
There is no miscarriage of justice that and so you do not have any prejudicial actions. And remember that in the case that Mr. Zimmerman is charged with a crime, he is entitled to a trial by jury, and any evidence or any disclosures that turn out to be incorrect by officials might prejudice the outcome of that case. So this is a situation where law enforcement officials really need to be careful about how they go about things. They need to, if anything, they need to say less instead of more. That sounds kind of counterintuitive, given the politically charged
But
situation.
they can still speak to the process
They can
and practice.
still speak to the process and practice. But they need to be very careful how they go about things, from, if nothing else, than from a legal standpoint. Mr. Zimmerman, if he is charged with a crime, is entitled to his day in court.
Yes.
And he is entitled to having a presumption of innocence, which would play into the jury
Until
pool.
proven guilty.
Yes.
That's our
And-
system.
Right. Simply, they should be taking care of, the way the law and order should be taken care of, instead of, exaggerating too much about the scene.
Right.
Looks like it's all politically motivated.
Yeah.
So since it's election time, and everybody's, taking interest in it, and exaggerating too much,
Sure.
instead of inspiring law and order to materialize it the way it's supposed to be done. Yeah.
Well, that's good, Mr. Ashal. Or your first name is Ashal, the last name is Thitha.
Yeah.
And Mr. Thitha, you're a distinguished businessman in our community. You are a tax-paying citizen and an achiever and an accomplished business personality that helps to undergird the underpinnings of society to help bring about stabilization. Let our audience know, if you will, what your sentiments are. These are minority crimes. It would seem to me that if there's outcry over this man's death, Trayvon Martin, what about the killings going on in Detroit, the murders that are taking place in the black community and urban centers all over the country, where drug dealers and people in the local community are being killed by drug dealers and by criminals and homicidal maniacs? Your thoughts?
Well, once again, I will be saying, like, law and order should be in effect, and they should be doing their job the way it's supposed to be. Instead, creating a big old scene. This is what I think.
Yes. Well, what you're saying makes sense. We're just hoping that the people that are hearing about these particular issues pertaining to Mr. Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin are digesting them in the context of the racial and ethnicity, if you will.
And
The ethnicity.
considering the sources as well.
Well, but exactly. But this is a limited context because you're dealing with a Hispanic who has perpetrated an action against an African American, and then those instigators that are coming from the outside, and whatever you call those exacerbators, they are trying to make it look like it's an issue with white and blacks, and it's not an issue with whites and blacks.
And they're also trying to make it look as though it's a racially motivated crime.
And they're trying to blame someone white for the crime.
Well, sure.
And that's a misapplication of justice. What they must understand is we can understand if you are criticizing the lethargy, if you will, of the patterns, practices, and processes of the law enforcement system, saying that you would like to see things taken care of more or investigated more expeditiously or with a greater degree of aggression. Now, they can say that. I didn't say that's what should happen. I said they can say that, but don't blame Trayvon Martin's death on white people
Right.
when it was a Hispanic man that perpetrated the act against him. And this is an incident. This is not some regular, ongoing abuse that's taking place in the community, because it's not.
No.
The abuse that's taking place in urban America are black-on-black crimes.
And the way
Black-on-black
and
homicides.
the way that it needs to be investigated is that you have one man who shot another man. Regardless of the ethnicity
Race
of
or
those
color.
people, where regardless of where they came from, what their names are,
And why does it matter?
What was the situation?
Exactly.
And it shouldn't matter.
Right.
That's what
that's-
I was trying to say.
That's what you were trying to say.
Yeah, the law and enforcement should take in effect the way it's supposed to be, instead of creating a big scene, making a...
Well, I think law enforcement is doing that. It's people from the outside who are trying to profit from it. It's the Jesse Jacksons, it's the Al Sharptons. Like you say, the usual suspects.
It's the activists.
The usual
It's the activist
race
crowd.
baiters.
Yes.
Let's call them what they are.
They're
race
racial
baiters.
activists, though. See, understand, again, they're still under the banner of racial activism, and they are the ones that profit and profiteer.
They profit from division, they profit from dissension, and they profit from misperception.
Yes.
And that gets to
Even though I like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton to me is a wannabe. I do not care for Al Sharpton, and I think Jesse Jackson needs to stop trying to follow Al Sharpton and let Al Sharpton follow his own pernicious ways.
Well, when we talk about presumption, I think when it comes to Jesse and Al, treat them like lawyers, and of course you know when a lawyer's lying, when his lips are moving. Treat Jesse.
So
and
said
Al
that about a politician.
But you have these racial, what was the term you used again?
Activists.
Racial activists.
Activists.
Well, race baiters. They make their money off of this, and they want to make this situation worse. And it gets back to the question that you asked. Where is the same amount of where's the same amount of agita over black on black crime? It's not there. It's
not there.
And one of the shames is, I think one of the crime shames in this country is the amount of, shall we say, lawlessness that black people will put up with if it's black people who are perpetrating it, whether it's murder or whether it's corruption.
It could be any race.
Yes, you take a look at Detroit. The city of Detroit reelected.
And Saginaw, the 3 top cities for homicides in the country.
The city of Detroit
Flint,
reelected
Saginaw.
Kwame Kilpatrick, knowing he was crooked. The city of Washington reelected Marion Barry, knowing that he's crooked.
But you do understand that when you look at the base of voters that are participating in those elections, it is an illiterate, uneducated base of voters that have been engaged in the political process.
Trust me,
and because
I'm
of that, in most cases,
I'm kind of familiar with that issue.
So illiteracy and lack of education and lack of professional disposition does play a role in those elections.
That's not all it is. It is also racism and
It's racism and Elizabeth. It's exacerbated by race.
Right.
But the greater part of it is you have a African American hillbilly portion of folks who basically say this is our enclave. We will elect who we want to do whatever we're big enough to do.
He may be a crook, but he's our crook.
He's our crook. He's our crook. He's our crook.
I think when people like to bring these kind of situations, they want to profit out of this situation.
That's a good point.
But otherwise, we are a great nation. We are a melting pot. We got all kind of races, cultures, colors, and everybody is free to exercise their religion and their beliefs.
Right.
So we should not be taking advantage of this kind of situation. We should not be taking the picture from the actual scene. Actual scene is somebody's got murdered. The Trayvon has got murdered, and there is other person. We do not, regardless of his race or culture.
We don't know if it's a murder. Let's be careful with the terminology.
Okay.
He got killed. We don't know yet that
We
it's
do
a
not
murder.
know.
Well, but at the same time, there's some form of homicide that took place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And whether it's justifiable, otherwise, they need to get to the bottom of it, but they need to get to the bottom of all the homicides.
That's true.
Yes.
Out here where people have
And follow the
innocent-
directions of
Exactly.
the way the law and order says.
Exactly.
And there are qualified people out there. That's why they have that position.
Exactly.
So instead of taking this scene somewhere else, come to the point and take care of the situation.
Right.
Resolve the issue.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Not creating a political scene or
Exactly. And with
His
the
point is a
investi-
beautiful thing. A beautiful point.
benefiting it from
Exactly.
from the incident.
And just like what I learned in criminal investigation class, criminal investigation 101, 30 some years ago, the law enforcement officers should be going where the evidence takes them.
Yep.
And no further. and and don't go beyond it. Don't go this side of it. Go where the evidence takes you.
And one may argue that it would be that circumstantial or otherwise, because many people have been convicted and sent to prison on circumstantial evidence.
Oh, yeah,
Every day,
absolutely.
every day, people are being convicted.
And the
on
way the law
circumstantial-
says, everybody is innocent
until proven
until
guilty.
proven guilty. So we should be treating everybody respectfully.
Now let's
and
talk about that then. Let's talk about, and I need feedback from both of you all, the new Black Panther Party. Some people may say that it is illegitimate, it is ill veracid, or it is not veracid, it's not authentic, unauthentic if you will. And they say
Authentic in what way?
unauthentic. They say it's
Yeah.
unauthentic. That means,
Unauthentic in what way?
well, because they say that the traditional African American Black Panther disowns them as being illegitimate. It says they're not part of them. But they're still the ones putting a bounty on the head of Zimmerman. They're calling for his murder. They're calling for him to be lynched. They're calling for a
Which is-
lynch mob and vigilante actions against him.
So that is a violation
This
of
is
the law, and they should
this is violation of the law, and this is violence. And
Right.
And that's why I was saying you have an African American president, you have an African American U.S. attorney. They should, for the sake of tranquility, peace, and stability to the situation, step in and say that we do not support this. We will not support it. And if you're going to be putting these kind of threats out there, these are minorities on minority crimes, whether they were white, black, white, what other race they were. We cannot stand by idly and not do anything, because these particular individuals involved in this situation, Trayvon Martin deserves justice. At the same time, Zimmerman deserves a fair trial. And you cannot...
That's true.
If
we're not
a crime
subscribe-
is committed.
a fair trial. The trial is to see if there's a crime committed.
Yep.
But if it comes to trial because there is evidence that causes it to be bound over as such and him to be charged and arrested and, of course, brought to trial, then he's entitled to a fair trial
Absolutely.
before a jury of his peers. And, in fact, what should happen is the pattern, the practices, and the processes need to run their course.
Right.
Hence, the Black Panthers or the new Black Panther Party needs to be put on notice that if you're going to make these kind of threats, we're going to hold you accountable. And as a matter of
And
fact,
they
we're
should
going
be
to
held
investigate.
legally accountable.
And we do
Yeah.
not want to encourage any society, any, like you said, Black Panther.
Right. The new Black Panthers.
Yeah, if they want to promote a non-violence, we do not want to encourage non-violence in America. Not at all.
Well, we don't want to encourage violence in America. If they want to be non-violent,
They want to be non-violent is fine.
It's fine.
We do not want to encourage violence. here in
violence in
America.
America.
And then
This
you
is what I
have, and
want.
then you
Exactly.
have a related
Precisely.
incident where you have yet another race baiter who profits from this. Spike Lee tweeted the address of people who are named Zimmerman who happen to have a son by the same name as a person involved
it was
in
a
this
false
incident,
address.
But these people have nothing at all to do. Their son had nothing at all to do with this incident, and yet he is tweeting their address. He is trying to get people to go there. He is inciting riots, and he has publicly apologized.
well, it shows
But
the
he needs-
stupidity
there-
of
there
Spike
needs to
Lee.
be-
It shows
there
how
needs to be
stupid
an
he is.
investigation there to see if, in fact, he is inciting people to riot, if he's, in fact, inciting people to assault, and if nothing else, Spike Lee should step up with his checkbook and have 24-hour security for those people and their home until this passes.
They did sue him, my understanding is, for $15 million.
And I hope they get every penny of it.
Well, again, there's going to be some damages. He'll pay out and settle out in court. This is a sad situation. This is obviously an albatross for Barack Obama. If Barack Obama does not want to be seen as a president that is associated with these extremists to the left, then it is probably going to be of extraordinary importance for him to distance himself from this. Hence, it causes the activists to fuel the fire.
Right.
If they fuel the fire, and there are not enough black Americans to put Barack Obama back in office. They weren't enough to put him in office first time. So if they fuel the fire and white Americans begin to look at this as a riotous, contentious situation, they will vote him out of office. Mind you me, he's a president. I believe it.
No.
I believe it because
I'm not-
they're going to say
I
you
don't
have to
know.
provide leadership. You're the president.
I don't know.
You have the U.S. Attorney's Office.
know
You're
that it
not
go that way.
gravitating the situation and getting it under control. I believe white Americans are going to look at Barack Obama and say, now, we put you in the office to fix this. Now you're in there. All this dissidence is going on. All this controversy. We got problems with the economy. We got gas at $10 a gallon. We got
let me
we
go
have
to-
banks taking money out of our accounts.
Bishop-
We want freedom.
Bishop, let me hit the button on the cash register. Ka-ching, no sale. I'm not buying it.
I believe that it's
20
going
years
to
ago,
backfire
20
Barack
years ago, you
Obama.
had the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles in an election.
There were
year,
no black
and
persons in the White House.
The incumbent president lost. They elected the Democrat.
No.
They elected the Democrat.
This
in
is different.
1992.
This is going to be.
It's
I'm
a
telling you
similar
now.
situation. I'm not
White
buying it.
Americans are going to, if Barack doesn't handle this thing properly and get this thing under control, and the activists continue to act insane and blame white Americans for something one minority perpetrated against another, I'm telling you now, it's going to you hear me out there? It's going to backfire, and it may cost him, and say it would, but I believe it may cost him in the election. But you don't agree.
Not buying it.
Your
Nope.
thoughts? Do you think it can hurt him?
I think it can hurt him, but not for that.
It can hurt.
Okay. Now, moving on here, Oprah Winfrey weighed in on this, and what I thought Oprah had retired and turned the pro-runs. Rosie O'Donnell's show crashed and burned. She fired Rosie. Rosie cursed her out on national
Was
television.
that pun intended? Orca Winfrey and Wade.
Oprah. I won't answer that question. I'll leave that up to you. So I'm saying that with this situation with Winfrey weighing in on this, when I thought that she was basically the producer, and with the situation with her recently coming off a fallout with Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell is a social terrorist. And so it couldn't have ended any better. Donald Trump probably is the best one that sums up her insanity. And I'm just thinking now, should Oprah be weighing in on these kind of things?
No.
But she feels she's a
But it's her
member
president.
of.
And she got him elected. It's her president. She's got to.
Well, I'm not talking about her president. I'm talking about she weighed in on the Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin case, saying that the whole world knew that this was wrong and something needs to be done. Okay, Oprah, we understand that. Is this because you're a journalist that you feel that you have, and we're journalists here, we are having something to say about it. Should she be weighing in on this in such a way to incite a riot?
No. Orca ought to keep her mouth shut until she knows what the facts are. I'm just like what I'm doing. I'm not, I'm not sure what happened. I know what I've heard, but I don't know for sure what happened. I haven't seen the police report, so I know what I've heard, but she hasn't heard any more than I have. So Orca Winfrey ought to quit clapping her trap until we find out more.
Now, all of these outlets are seemingly been hijacked by the White House. The White House seems to own almost every media outlet but Fox News.
It's a
and
two-way
Russia.
deal. It's a two-way thing.
2
It's not-
minutes.
The White House doesn't own the media. It's a bilateral relationship.
Well, that's interesting.
They live off of each other.
Yes, you seem to be being very fair here. I like that about you. You're very balanced. Maybe we're the new Fox News of the nation.
We can only hope so.
And
And I wouldn't mind that national TV contract. If you're out there, Roger Ailes, hey, I'm available.
Well, PBS is looking at us. But now, having said that,
Yeah, but only to investigate us.
well, they're supposed to be offering us a contract, by the way. But having said that,
Let's
I
not
think
work for a nonprofit.
That's right. We need to get paid here.
Yep.
So in our close, we are very seriously concerned about Trayvon Martin. We want to see justice, but we think that the instigators and exacerbators and activists who are race baiting in this particular process really are way out of bounds.
Right.
And
My-
they need
my
to cease
concern-
and desist from this nonsense.
Absolutely. My concern in this case is justice regardless of the people involved, regardless of their backgrounds. Let the right thing be done.
That's true. This is what I was trying to say.
Well, you heard from Thitha, and you've heard